My daughter told me her ex-husband was sleeping in his car, so I bought him a house. When Emily called me crying at midnight saying Kevin had nowhere to go, my first reaction was to tell her that wasn't our problem anymore. They'd been divorced for 8 months. He'd cheated on her with someone from his office. She'd caught him, kicked him out, and filed papers within a week. But she kept saying I needed to help him, that it was important, that she couldn't explain why, but I had to trust her. The desperation in her voice made me agree to meet him the next morning. Kevin showed up at the diner looking terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, wearing the same wrinkled button-down shirt I'd seen him in at Emily's birthday party 3 months ago. He wouldn't make eye contact with me while he explained that he'd lost his apartment and been staying in his Toyota for 2 weeks. I asked about his parents, his friends, anyone else who could help. He said it was complicated and changed the subject. What struck me as strange was that Emily texted me twice during our coffee asking if I'd made a decision yet. Why did my divorced daughter care so much about her cheating ex-husband's housing situation? I ended up buying a small house in my name on the outskirts of town. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, nothing fancy. Cost me $180,000 that I'd been saving for retirement. My wife Carol thought I'd lost my mind, but Emily insisted it was necessary and promised she'd explain everything later. Kevin moved in on a Tuesday. I stopped by that Friday to drop off some furniture and found Emily's car in the driveway. Through the window, I saw them sitting at the kitchen table with papers spread everywhere. They looked intense, focused, like they were planning something. When I knocked, they both jumped. Emily shoved the papers into a folder before letting me in. She claimed they were just going over insurance documents from the divorce, but that didn't explain why she visited Kevin 3 times that first week, or why I saw her car there overnight on Wednesday. My wife noticed too and asked if Emily was getting back together with him. I said I didn't know. The second week, I noticed Kevin had installed security cameras, 4 of them, covering every angle of the house and yard. When I asked why he needed that level of security in a quiet neighborhood, he said he'd always wanted cameras and finally had the chance to install them properly. Then things got weirder. Emily asked me not to tell anyone that Kevin was living there. Not my wife, not our friends, nobody. She said it was important that people thought he'd moved to another state. I started seeing charges on the credit card I'd given Kevin for emergencies. Food deliveries, yes, but also things that didn't make sense. A police scanner, blackout curtains for every window, a safe. I drove by the house one night around 11 p.m. and saw 2 cars I didn't recognize parked in front. The lights were off, but I could see flashlight beams moving inside. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes watching until the cars left and Kevin came out to check the mailbox, looking in every direction like he expected someone to jump out. My wife found the bank statements showing the house purchase. She demanded to know why I'd spent our retirement savings on my daughter's ex-husband. I tried explaining that Emily had asked me to, but I couldn't give her a real reason because I didn't have one. Carol said I was being manipulated and needed to demand answers. She was right. I called Emily and told her I needed the truth or I was selling the house. She went quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Dad, Kevin didn't cheat on me. We staged the divorce, and he's not safe in his real identity anymore." I felt my stomach drop. "What do you mean his real identity?" Emily's voice shook when she answered. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. I feel my hands go cold as I grip the phone tighter. "What do you mean his real identity? Emily, what the hell is going on?" The line goes silent for a moment, and I hear Emily take a deep breath. "Dad, can you come to Kevin's house right now? Alone. Don't tell Mom yet." "I'm not going anywhere until you explain what's happening," I say, trying to keep my voice steady despite the panic rising in my chest. "Kevin is in the Federal Witness Protection Program," Emily says, her voice barely above a whisper. "He testified against members of the Alvarez cartel 3 years ago. The divorce, the cheating story. None of it was real. We staged it all." I sink into my chair, trying to process what I'm hearing. My son-in-law, the computer systems analyst who always brought the best wine to family dinners, is in witness protection? This doesn't make any sense. "Dad, please. I'll explain everything when you get here. It's not safe to talk about this over the phone." 20 minutes later, I'm pulling into Kevin's driveway. Emily meets me at the door, looking over my shoulder before quickly ushering me inside. Kevin sits at the kitchen table, the same one where I'd seen them huddled over papers days earlier. "Thank you for coming," Kevin says, looking more composed than he had at the diner, but with the same haunted eyes. "I know this is a lot to process. Start talking," I demand. "All of it, now." Emily takes my hand and leads me to sit down. 3 years ago, Kevin was working for a financial consulting firm. He discovered one of their biggest clients was laundering money for the Alvarez cartel. Kevin picks up the story. "Instead of looking the other way, I went to the FBI. They convinced me to stay in position and gather evidence. For 8 months, I documented everything while wearing a wire." His testimony put 12 high-ranking cartel members in prison, Emily adds, including Ricardo Alvarez himself. "The feds relocated me after the trial," Kevin continues. "New name, new background, new life. Emily and I got married 6 months later, after she passed all the security screenings." Emily squeezes my hand. "We were happy, Dad. Everything was fine until 3 months ago when Kevin's handler called. There had been a security breach. Someone in the program had been compromised. We needed a cover story for why Kevin would suddenly disappear," Emily explains. "The divorce, the cheating. We created all of it so no one would question why we separated. It protected me too. As long as people thought I hated him, no one would suspect I knew where he was." I rub my temples, trying to make sense of it all. "So those nighttime visitors I saw? Federal agents," Kevin confirms. "They've been checking the security perimeter. The house you bought me is perfect, isolated enough for protection, but close enough for quick extraction if needed." "Dad, you can't tell anyone about this," Emily pleads. "Not even Mom. The fewer people who know, the safer everyone is." I stand up abruptly. "No, Carol deserves to know why I spent our retirement savings. She thinks I'm being manipulated." "You were right to tell your wife," a new voice says from the doorway to the living room. I spin around to see a woman in her 40s with close-cropped hair and a blazer despite the late hour. She holds up a badge. "Agent Torres, FBI. I'm Kevin's handler." "How long have you been here?" I ask, unnerved that someone was in the house without my knowing. "Long enough," she says, taking a seat at the table. "Mr. Benson, I understand your concerns. This situation has put you and your wife in a difficult position." "That's an understatement," I mutter. "Your daughter and son-in-law are in genuine danger," Agent Torres continues. "Kevin provided crucial evidence that dismantled a significant portion of the Alvarez cartel's money laundering operation. The threats against him, and by extension, anyone helping him, are credible. So what happens happens now? I ask. We believe we've identified the source of the security breach, Torres explains. But until we can confirm and neutralize it, Kevin needs to remain in deep cover. The house you purchased provides an ideal safe location that isn't connected to his witness protection identity. I shake my head. I need to tell my wife. She deserves to know. Emily and Kevin exchange glances with Agent Torres, who nods reluctantly. We can arrange a secure briefing. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Bring your wife here. The next morning, Carol sits stone-faced at Kevin's kitchen table as Agent Torres explains everything again. She shows us photos of cartel members, court transcripts, and finally, the threats that had been intercepted. This is insane, Carol says when Torres finishes. You expect us to believe Kevin was some kind of undercover informant. Where's the proof? Torres slides a laptop across the table and plays a video. It's Kevin, 3 years younger, sitting in an interview room detailing financial transactions, while FBI agents take notes. The evidence is undeniable. Carol's expression softens slightly, but she's still skeptical. Why didn't you tell us from the beginning? She asks Emily. I couldn't, Emily says, tears forming. It was safer for everyone if you didn't know. The cartel has a history of targeting extended family members, Torres adds. Your daughter was protecting you. Carol looks at me, then back at Emily. So all those times I comforted you about Kevin cheating, you were acting? Emily nods, wiping away tears. I'm sorry, Mom. I hated lying to you both. After another hour of questions, Carol finally sighs. I still don't like this, but I understand why you did it. She turns to me. We need to help them. That afternoon, I install additional security cameras at our own home, while Kevin shows me the panic buttons he's hidden around his house. Emily explains that the blackout curtains, police scanner, and safe were all security measures recommended by Torres. As I'm leaving, Emily hugs me tightly. Thank you for understanding, Dad. I know this isn't what you signed up for. You're my daughter, I say simply. I'd do anything to keep you safe. On the drive home, I keep checking my rearview mirror, suddenly aware that the ordinary-looking sedan 3 cars back might not be so ordinary after all. The world feels different now, darker, more dangerous. But as Carol reminds me when I get home, our family has always faced challenges together. We'll get through this, she says, squeezing my hand. All of us. I nod, hoping she's right, but I can't shake the feeling that buying that house was just the beginning of something much bigger and much more dangerous than I ever could have imagined. I can't shake the feeling of being watched. It starts 3 days after our meeting with Agent Torres, as I'm leaving Kevin's house after helping him install motion sensors in the backyard. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the rural road, when I notice a dark sedan I don't recognize parked about a quarter mile from the turnoff to Kevin's property. As I drive past, the car pulls out behind me. Just a coincidence, I mutter to myself, but I take 3 random turns on the way home. The sedan follows each one, maintaining the same distance. My heart pounds as I call Carol. Don't come straight home, I tell her, trying to keep my voice calm. Meet me at the grocery store on 5th. What's wrong? She asks immediately. Just being cautious, I say, watching the sedan hang back as I turn onto the main road. I think someone's following me. I lose the car in the busy grocery store parking lot, circling around delivery trucks until I spot Carol waiting by the entrance. We leave her car and drive home together, taking a circuitous route and checking repeatedly that no one's behind us. This is insane, Carol says, gripping the dashboard. We're in our 60s. We should be worrying about retirement accounts, not cartel hitmen. The next morning, Carol calls me to the living room window. 2 men in a pickup truck are parked across the street, pretending to read a newspaper but clearly watching our house. They're not even trying to be subtle, she whispers. Should we call Agent Torres? Before I can answer, my phone buzzes with a text from Kevin. It's a video from his security cameras, showing a hooded figure testing the windows at the back of his house around 3 a.m., then disappearing when the motion lights activate. Jesus, I mutter, showing Carol the footage. That's it, she says. Call Emily. She can't stay alone anymore. Emily moves in with Kevin that afternoon, bringing only a small suitcase and her laptop. It's safer if we're together, she explains when I question the wisdom of this arrangement. Agent Torres has assigned a surveillance team to watch the house. I'm about to respond when my phone rings an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answer. We know where the rat is hiding, a voice says, the accent thick and menacing. We know who's helping him. The house won't keep him safe. The line goes dead before I can respond. My hands are shaking so badly I can barely dial Agent Torres' number. She arrives at our house within 30 minutes, her expression grim as I play the recorded call for her. This confirms what we feared, she says, pacing our living room. 3 of the cartel members Kevin testified against were released last week on technicalities. Their associates have been very active since then. How did they find him? Carol demands. I thought witness protection was supposed to be secure. Torres' expression darkens. We've identified a compromised official within the program. They sold information about relocated witnesses, including Kevin's previous location in Arizona. That's why we had to move him so quickly. Previous location? I echo. So the divorce story was a necessary fiction, Emily interrupts, entering our living room with Kevin behind her. They must have come in through the back door. We're still legally married. We never actually filed the papers. Carol stares at them, then at me. So we bought a house for a man who's still married to our daughter? The whole cheating story was fabricated? We needed something dramatic enough that no one would question why I suddenly left, Kevin explains. Something that would make Emily seem like the last person who would help me. This is too much, Carol says, standing up. We're in our 60s. We should be planning cruises, not hiding from cartel assassins. This isn't our fight. It became our fight when we bought that house, I remind her. No, she snaps. You made it our fight when you spent our retirement money without consulting me. We argue for nearly an hour while Emily, Kevin, and Agent Torres wait awkwardly. Finally, Kevin interrupts. There's something I need to show you, he says. Both of you. He drives us to his house after Torres confirms no one is following and leads us to the hall closet. He pushes aside the hanging coats and presses a hidden panel in the back wall. A section of the floor slides away, revealing a narrow staircase. I built this the week after I moved in, Kevin explains, leading us down into a small room with concrete walls. It's stocked with water, non-perishable food, a chemical toilet, and communication equipment. It's a panic room, completely isolated from the rest of the house, with its own ventilation system and power supply. How long can someone survive down here, I ask, examining the supplies. 2 weeks, maybe 3, Kevin says. Long enough for extraction if things go bad. Carol sits heavily on one of the folding chairs. This is real. This is actually happening. Emily kneels beside beside her mother. I'm sorry we dragged you into this, but I need to tell you something else. She glances at Kevin, who nods encouragingly. I never stopped loving him. The divorce was just for show, but being apart made me realize how much he means to me. Carol looks between them, then sighs. I suspected as much. You were never a good actress, honey. We're about to leave the panic room when my phone buzzes with a text from our neighbor. There's a delivery truck parked outside our house. It's been there for 2 hours, and no one has gotten out. Agent Torres immediately calls for backup and orders us to stay put. Don't leave this room until I contact you, she instructs, heading up the stairs. Lock it behind me. We sit in tense silence for nearly 3 hours before Torres calls. The delivery truck was indeed surveillance 2 men with cartel connections, both now in custody. But the interrogation revealed something worse. They know about our connection to Kevin. We need to move quickly, Torres says when she returns. They're escalating faster than anticipated. As if to confirm her words, Kevin's phone chimes with a security alert. The cameras have captured 3 armed men attempting to break in through the back door. The footage shows them retreating when an alarm sounds, but Torres's expression tells us what we're all thinking. Pack essential items only, she says, her voice calm but urgent. We need to prepare for emergency evacuation. They'll be back, and next time they'll be ready for the alarms. As I help Emily gather medications and documents, I catch Kevin staring at the security footage, his face pale. I recognize one of them, he whispers. He was Ricardo Alvarez's bodyguard. If he's here, he doesn't finish the sentence, but he doesn't need to. The cartel hasn't just found Kevin. They've sent their best people to make an example of him and anyone helping him. That night, as Carol and I lie awake in Kevin's guest room with a panic button by the bed and a gun in the nightstand drawer, I realize the truth of what my daughter said at the beginning of all this. Buying that house was just the first step into a world I never knew existed. A world where people like us ordinary, retirement-age suburbanites become targets in a war we never signed up to fight. The crash jolts me awake at 12:17 a.m. For a split second, I think I'm dreaming until I hear Carol's panicked voice. They're in the house, she whispers, already sliding out of bed in the darkness of Kevin's guest room. Front door. Another crash, followed by the sound of splintering wood. Male voices shouting in Spanish. The security system wails for 3 seconds before going silent cut. Panic room, I hiss, grabbing the go bag we'd packed earlier. Carol is already moving, barefoot and silent across the carpet. We've rehearsed this twice since Torres left, but the reality is infinitely more terrifying than the practice runs. The hallway is pitch black, but we know the way. 15 steps to the closet. Kevin and Emily should be doing the same from the master bedroom. We'd synchronized our watches, memorized the exit routes, prepared for this exact scenario, but nothing prepares you for the sound of armed men searching a house where you're hiding. I reach the closet first, pushing aside the hanging coats with trembling hands. My fingers find the hidden panel, press the sequence. 3 short, 1 long. The floor slides open with a barely audible hydraulic hiss. Move, I urge Carol, as footsteps pound up the stairs. She descends quickly into the darkness below. I follow, pulling the closet door closed behind me just as a beam of light sweeps under the door. The panic room seals automatically once we're inside. Kevin designed it that way, impossible to open from the outside without explosives. Emily and Kevin are already there, huddled against the concrete wall. Kevin's laptop is open, showing the security camera feeds. 4 men in black tactical gear, faces covered, weapons drawn, methodically searching each room. Torres knows, Kevin whispers, pointing to a small blinking light on the communications console. Panic button triggered the silent alarm. Response team is 8 minutes out. 8 minutes feels like 8 years when you're watching armed men tear apart a house looking for you. They flip mattresses, empty drawers, smash picture frames. One of them finds the master bedroom, fires 3 rounds into the bed we'd carefully arranged to look occupied. Oh God, Carol gasps, covering her mouth. Emily is shaking, but her eyes never leave the screen. The cameras are our advantage. They don't know we can see them. Kevin types rapidly on his laptop, sending information to Torres about the intruders' positions. I count 6 men total, now 2 more than we initially saw. They're coordinated, professional, not random thugs, but trained killers. They're looking for the panic room, Kevin says quietly as one of the men begins tapping walls, checking for hollow spots. They know it exists. The realization hits me like ice water. Someone told them. Someone who knows the house layout. Emily's phone vibrates a text from Torres. Extraction team, 5 minutes out. Stay silent. Stay hidden. The men upstairs are getting frustrated, shouting at each other. One of them throws a lamp against the wall. Another one, the leader, judging by how the others defer to him, pulls out a phone and makes a call. No sign of them, he says in accented English. The beds were warm. They can't be far. My blood runs cold as he listens to the person on the other end, then nods. Understood. We'll check the perimeter again. 4 of the men head outside, presumably to search the grounds. 2 remain, continuing to search for hidden entrances. One of them is dangerously close to the closet now, running his hands along the back wall. If they find the panel, Carol whispers. Kevin shakes his head. They won't. It's biometric. Only opens to my fingerprint or manual code sequence. We watch in tense silence as the man in the closet grows increasingly agitated, throwing clothes to the floor, kicking at the walls. Finally, his partner calls him away to check another part of the house. Emily's phone vibrates again. 2 minutes. The security feed suddenly shows headlights approaching not from the main road, but from the back property line. Black SUVs with no markings. The extraction team. Get ready, Kevin says, grabbing a small duffel bag. When Torres gives the signal, we move fast. Stay low. Head straight for the vehicles. The men inside notice the approaching vehicles too late. The federal agents are already surrounding the house, moving with practiced efficiency. Through the cameras, we watch the confrontation unfold. The cartel men attempt to flee, but are quickly intercepted. No shots fired, yet the feds want to take them alive for questioning. Emily's phone lights up with a single word. Now. Kevin enters the code to open the panic room from the inside. The panel slides open, revealing the closet above. I go first, helping Carol up, then Emily. Kevin comes last, sealing the panic room behind him. The house is eerily quiet as we move through the hallway toward the back door where Torres is waiting. We're almost there when a shout comes from behind us. One of the cartel men managed to break away from the agents outside. He raises his weapon, but Torres is faster. 2 shots, center mass. The man crumples to the floor. Move! Torres shouts, ushering us toward the waiting SUV. We pile in, and the vehicle immediately speeds away, tires kicking up gravel. In the rearview mirror, I see federal agents securing the property, leading the the captured men away in handcuffs. Where are we going? Carol asks, her voice shaking. Secure location, Torres answers, not taking her eyes off the road. We have a situation. Kevin and Emily's house wasn't the only target tonight. My stomach drops. Our house? Torres nods grimly. Team got there just in time. 3 armed men, same tactical gear. They're in custody now. The drive takes 40 minutes, winding through back roads until we reach what looks like an abandoned warehouse. Inside is anything but abandoned computers, communications equipment, armed agents moving with purpose. We have a leak, Torres says once we're seated in a small conference room. Someone inside the program is feeding information to the cartel. How? Kevin demands. Who has access to our locations? That's what we're trying to determine, Torres says, sliding a tablet across the table. But we have a lead. Does this man look familiar? The screen shows a middle-aged man with thinning hair and glasses. Kevin studies it, then nods slowly. Martin Reeves. He worked at my old firm, finance department. He wasn't involved in the cartel business, though, at least not that I knew of. He was hired by the Marshal Service 2 years ago, Torres explains. Background division. He'd have access to witness files, including yours. Emily gasps. He's the leak? We think so. His access credentials were used to pull your file 3 times in the past month. He disappeared 4 days ago. A young agent enters the room, whispers something to Torres. Her expression darkens. We just got footage from Kevin's security cameras from earlier today, she says, turning the tablet to show us a new video. It's Kevin's house. Around noon, a delivery truck pulls up the same one that had been watching our house. 2 men exit, approach the door. One of them turns toward the camera, and I feel the blood drain from my face. I know him, I say, pointing at the screen. That's the guy who came to fix our furnace last month. He was in our house for 3 hours. Torres zooms in on the man's face. You're certain? Absolutely. Carol was home with him while I was at the hardware store. He said the furnace company sent him for the annual maintenance. We never scheduled maintenance, Carol says, her voice barely audible. I just assumed you had arranged it. Torres is already on her phone, barking orders. When she hangs up, her expression is grim. They've been planning this for weeks. Surveillance, mapping your routines, probably bugging your homes. The attack tonight wasn't spontaneous, it was coordinated. What about Emily and Kevin? I ask. The cameras showed them being taken. We don't have them, Torres says, but we just intercepted this. She plays an audio file. A man's voice, heavily accented. We have the rat and his woman. Evidence for their lives. You have 48 hours. The room falls silent. Kevin's testimony, evidence, the recordings, the financial documents, everything that put the cartel leaders away in exchange for Emily and Kevin's lives. What's the plan? I ask, trying to keep my voice steady despite the fear threatening to overwhelm me. Torres studies me for a moment, then nods as if making a decision. We've located where they're holding them. Abandoned warehouse about 30 miles outside town. We're assembling a tactical team for extraction. I know the layout of Kevin's security system, I say. Every camera, every sensor. If they're using similar equipment at this warehouse, I can help. Carol stands up, straightening her shoulders. I'm a retired nurse. I can prepare medical supplies, anticipate what injuries might need immediate attention. Torres hesitates, then nods. We need all the help we can get. The raid begins at dawn. As agents rush around us, preparing equipment and reviewing floor plans, I catch Carol's eye across the room. For a moment, I see the same thought reflected in her expression. How did our retirement turn into this? But beneath the fear, there's something else: determination. Our daughter needs us, and for the first time since buying that house, I feel like we're finally doing something that matters. I wake to the sound of helicopter rotors and a medic shining a pen light in my eyes. Everything hurts my shoulder where I hit the concrete during the raid, my ears still ringing from the flashbang grenades, my heart racing with adrenaline that hasn't subsided. Emily, I croak, trying to sit up on the stretcher. She's okay, the medic says, gently pushing me back down. Minor injuries. They're loading her into the other chopper now. Through the open door of the helicopter, I catch glimpses of the warehouse surrounded by federal vehicles, their lights painting the pre-dawn darkness in flashes of red and blue. Agents in tactical gear move purposefully across the scene, securing evidence and leading handcuffed men to waiting transport vans. Kevin? I ask, my voice stronger now. Concussion, 2 broken ribs, but stable. He's with your daughter. Relief washes over me so powerfully that tears spring to my eyes. They're alive. Both of them are alive. Carol appears at the side of the stretcher, her face streaked with dirt and what might be blood, though I can't tell if it's hers. They're okay, she says, squeezing my hand. I saw them. Emily has a dislocated shoulder and some cuts, but she's talking and alert. The raid had gone nothing like the careful plan Torres outlined. The cartel had more men than intelligence suggested, and they were better armed. What should have been a surgical extraction turned into a firefight that left 3 cartel members dead and 2 federal agents wounded. I close my eyes, trying to block out the memory of the warehouse erupting in gunfire as the tactical team breached the main entrance. Carol and I were supposed to stay in the command vehicle, but when communications went down and chaos erupted, we found ourselves moving toward the building, driven by some primal parental instinct that overrode all logic and self-preservation. 3 dead, I murmur, remembering the bodies I stepped over to reach the room where Emily and Kevin were being held. Carol nods grimly. And 8 in custody, including the one Torres was most interested in, the man who gave the orders. The helicopter lifts off, carrying us to the hospital, where doctors confirm what the field medics already told us. No serious injuries, just the physical toll of the most terrifying night of our lives. Emily and Kevin arrive an hour later, both looking battered but alive. Emily falls into my arms, wincing as her bandaged shoulder makes contact with my chest. Dad, she whispers, you came for us. Always, I reply, holding her as gently as I can. Kevin stands nearby, his face bruised and one arm in a sling. They wanted the evidence, he says. Everything I had on the remaining cartel leadership. The names, the accounts, all of it. Did you give it to them? Carol asks. A ghost of a smile crosses Kevin's face. No, because I didn't have it with me. I split it up years ago. Different locations, different formats, insurance. Agent Torres arrives as the doctors are finishing their examinations. Her tactical vest is gone, but she still carries herself with the alert readiness of someone who expects danger at any moment. We got him, she says without preamble. Martin Reeves, the leak in the witness protection program. He was trying to cross into Mexico when Border Patrol picked him up. How many others did he compromise? Kevin asks. 6 witnesses total. We've already moved 3 of them to new locations. Torres looks between Kevin and Emily, which brings me to the next steps for you two. Emily's hand finds mine, squeezing tightly. We have to disappear again, don't we? Emily? Torres nods. New identities, new location, complete disconnect from your current lives. She glances at Carol and me, including from your parents. The words hang in the air like a physical weight. After everything we've been through, after nearly losing them, now we have to say goodbye. How long? Carol asks, her voice steady despite the tears gathering in her eyes. Indefinitely, Torres says. At least until the trial concludes. Kevin's evidence is the linchpin for prosecuting the remaining cartel leadership. Once they're convicted, we can reassess. 3 days later, I'm signing the papers to list Kevin's house for sale. The property where we nearly died, where our lives changed forever. The realtor doesn't ask about the new security door or the patched bullet holes in the walls. In this market, she says, it'll sell quickly, regardless. What about the money? I ask Torres, who's overseeing the process. It was our retirement savings. The proceeds will be transferred to a secure account, she explains. Kevin and Emily will be able to access it in their new location. It's the least we can do after everything you've sacrificed. Carol and I are offered witness protection, too. New identities, a new home far from here. We spend one long night discussing it, weighing the risks against the prospect of starting over in our 60s. I can't do it, Carol finally says. I can't leave our friends, our community, everything we've built. Not at our age. I agree. The threat assessment from Torres indicates that with the primary cartel members in custody and the corrupt official captured, the risk to us has diminished significantly. We decide to stay, to reclaim what's left of our normal lives. The trial moves quickly by federal standards. Kevin's evidence, financial records, recorded conversations, transaction details proves devastating. The remaining cartel leadership, including Ricardo Alvarez himself, receive life sentences without possibility of parole. We don't see Emily or Kevin during this time. All communication goes through Torres' brief, encrypted messages confirming they're safe, that the new identities are holding. I sell our house too, unable to sleep there after knowing cartel members had been inside, had touched our things, had planned to kill us there. 1 year passes. Carol and I buy a small condo closer to town, using what little remained of our savings after the Kevin house adventure. We're making it work, adjusting to a simpler retirement than we'd planned, when Torres calls with news. Secure video call, she says. Tomorrow at noon, be at this address. She texts coordinates to a federal building downtown. The next day, a technician sets up a laptop in a windowless room, then leaves us alone. At exactly noon, the screen flickers to life, and there they are, Emily and Kevin, sitting on what looks like a porch overlooking water. Emily's hair is shorter, highlighted with streaks of caramel. Kevin's grown a beard. They both look healthier than I've ever seen them. Mom! Dad! Emily's voice breaks as she leans toward the camera. God, it's so good to see you. Where are you? Carol asks, though we all know they can't tell us. Somewhere with beaches, Kevin says with a smile. Somewhere safe. Emily shifts slightly, and that's when I notice it, the gentle curve of her stomach beneath her flowing top. Carol gasps. Emily, are you? Emily's smile could light up the room. 22 weeks. It's a girl. Tears stream down Carol's face. We're going to be grandparents, she whispers, reaching for my hand. We got married again, Kevin adds. Small ceremony on the beach. New names, but same promises. The call lasts 30 minutes. Not enough time to say everything, but enough to heal something broken inside me. They're safe. They're happy. Life goes on. 2 months later, a letter arrives with no return address. Inside is a property deed and a single piece of paper with a series of numbers that, when plotted on a map, lead to a small beachfront cottage in a coastal town 3 hours from our condo. For retirement, the note reads in Emily's handwriting. When it's safe, we'll be waiting. Carol looks at me over the deed, her eyes bright with tears. She always was too generous for her own good. Like her mother, I reply, pulling Carol close. That night, as we lie in bed discussing whether we could actually use the cottage someday, Carol says something that surprises me. I was wrong to doubt them, you know, when this all started. I thought Emily was being manipulated, that Kevin was using her. We both made mistakes, I say, but we were there when it counted. Carol is quiet for a moment. Do you think we'll ever see them again? In person, I mean? I think about the property deed, the coordinates, the promise implicit in Emily's note. Yes, I say with certainty I didn't know I possessed. When it's safe. Until then, we have the knowledge that somewhere on a beach, our daughter and son-in-law are building a new life, and that our grandchild will grow up knowing her grandparents were willing to face down cartel hitmen to keep her parents safe. Not exactly the retirement adventure we planned when we bought that 2-bedroom house on the outskirts of town, but as Carol reminds me, the best stories rarely follow the expected path.